welcome back to the HQ. Today, we're going to be reacting to World War II by Oversimplified, Part 1. Last time, we watched all of his videos about World War I, and that gave us a good idea of World War I. I already have a pretty decent idea of World War II, but just to get his take on World War II, we're going to dive right into this one as well. So let's get right to it, shall we?
This video was made possible by Skillshare.
Very nice.
Churchill was a man with many talents. He was an artist, a butterfly enthusiast, and he had an unpublished manuscript about aliens. Clearly, he was a man with an insatiable thirst for knowledge. Maybe he could have loaded up his computer and logged onto Skillshare, an online learning community with more than 19,000 classes.
We're
in
ethical
design,
reactors
business,
here. We
technology,
watched the
Perhaps he was considering a side career
sponsorship
in fashion,
programs.
but didn't know where to start. On Skillshare, he would find courses
we are
in fashion
ethical
design
reactors
and
here.
garment construction.
Oh,
Or
he
if
looking
wanted to
drip.
learn app design,
Got that
improve
drip out.
photography, or just how to make a really good quesadilla. He would have found courses for all of these and more on Skillshare.
Quesadilla sounds kind of nice right
access
now.
to high-quality classes taught by genuine
I could
experts
fuck up a
working in their
quesadilla,
field.
dog.
I work heavily with animation, and I was genuinely blown away by the number of really useful courses available to me. Like this class full of tips and tricks for creating vector art, or this one for creating character walk cycles. For an annual subscription, Skillshare is under $10 a month. And if you'd like to try it out first, then I've got a deal just for Oversimplified viewers.
Oh, yeah?
The first 1,000 people to use this link, which can be found in the description, will get their first 2 months of Skillshare for just 99 cents. Be sure to try it out using the link in the description and learn something new
I wonder how
today.
long that lasts.
Now, without further ado.
How long the link lasts, not how long the
It's 1902.
trial lasts.
A young man by the name of Benito Mussolini moves from Italy to Switzerland to avoid military service.
Okay, yeah.
He gets big into socialism, working for trade unions, writing for socialist newspapers, advocating a violent overthrow of European monarchies, the whole shebang. This gets him in a bit of
that
trouble
tends to
with the
be a
Swiss
little
police, so he gets arrested.
that tends to
goes
be
back
something
Italy,
that
set free, returns
that tends to be
Switzerland,
something that'll
is
get you in
arrested
trouble
again,
in Europe.
Goes back to Italy again,
In
completes his military service after
20
previously
in
avoiding
20th
it,
century
and then
Europe,
after a
yeah.
brief stint as an elementary school teacher, he finally returns to work as an avid socialist. His speeches and journal.
So he went from writer to political prisoner to elementary schooler and then back to political activist and writer. That's a pretty weird circle. Huh.
Journalistic abilities made him famous among Italian socialists. He was anti-war, so when Italy colonized Libya in 1910, he rioted and got arrested. Then World War I came along, and once again he protested Italy's involvement. But then he thought, wait a minute, this war could bring about the social climate needed to overthrow European monarchies and bring about the socialist revolution everywhere. And suddenly he was pro-war, but his fellow socialists didn't like his new pro-war stance, so they kicked him out of the party. So then
Yeah, that'll definitely happen to you if you're just that wishy-washy on your politics. Suddenly you're pro-war because it benefits your vague idea of what you want to do. No, thank you.
He said, you know what? I'm done with socialism. We need something new, not based on class divisions tearing us apart, but based on unity through nationality. We'll conquer the Mediterranean and reunite all Italian peoples just like the days of the Roman Empire. I'll call it fascismo, and it will guide the Italian nation to greatness. That's all well and good, Mr. Mussolini, but what kind of haircut am I giving you? Let's go
fascism, man.
Bold.
Oh. Such pomp and circumstance for his bald-ass head.
Italy had been on the winner's side in World War I, and they hoped they were going to get a lot out of it, but in the end, they only got a little, and they felt cheated. On top of that, a bad economy and weak governments meant that the Italian people were a little unhappy. So when Mussolini came along and said that he could fix everything, his fascist movement gained a lot of support. In 1922, he went to the king and said, make me prime minister, or I'll make me prime minister. And the king said, you and what army? This army.
Oh yeah, that'll do it.
Fair enough. Then he went about establishing a dictatorship with himself at its center. Europe had its first fascist dictator. Next up, Germany.
That's usually how it happens.
On the loser's side, and they got absolutely wrecked by the Treaty of Versailles.
Oh,
they lost territory, had to demilitarize the Rhineland, had to reduce their army to just 100,000 men, couldn't have an air force, had to pay the Allies a huge amount of money that it didn't have, and a new rule was established that every Englishman withheld the right to walk into the center of Berlin, pick out any German they wanted, and spank the hell out of them. I made that last one up, but it helps you understand how all this felt to Germans.
Yeah, the Treaty of Versailles really messed up Germany. Like, I mean, they kind of deserved it considering what they did and what they were trying to do over the course of World War I. But the Treaty of Versailles basically laid out a breeding ground for like political extremism to rise in the country. Because like if they went a little softer on Germany, well, at one hand, like it wouldn't be much of a punishment for being basically the starting catalyst of World War I. But at the same time, you could have avoided the World War II if you didn't go in as hard against Germany. Because if Germany wasn't as disenfranchised as it was from the Treaty of Versailles, there's a very high likelihood that things like the Nazi movement wouldn't have risen up to such a level of prominence as it eventually does in Germany in 1930s or 20s and 30s. Because I think it's in late 20s into the early 30s that we start to see like the rise of Nazi party in Germany, or it takes power in like proper in like the early 30s, I think. We'll probably see this in the video, but yeah.
On top of that, a bad economy and weak governments meant that when a small angry man with a silly mustache came along and said that he could fix everything, the German people loved it. Hitler had been a soldier during World War I, and he was crazy patriotic, and nobody was madder than him about Germany's humiliation. He helped start a new political party, and in 1923 attempted a march on Munich with his boys. And then he got arrested. But his popularity grew.
They had to censor out the armbands because that's just how YouTube kind of be, though. YouTube will just censor anything, be perfectly politically neutral, except whenever they get lots of money for making political statements. That's just kind of how fickle YouTube is.
And grew, and in 1933, the president made him chancellor. He believed he was Germany's great destined savior, and he went full megalomaniac, establishing a dictatorship with himself at its center. Europe
as they do.
Fascist dictator number 2. Hitler and Mussolini had a lot of the same ideas, but more importantly, they had the same enemies, and they started to get along. Anyone else want to be friends? Franco? No? You good? I do. Who's that? It's Japan, and they've taken over northern China. Let's rewind a bit.
Oh?
Japan had isolated itself from the rest of the world for over 200 years until the Americans showed up and said, you're going to trade with us and you're going to like it. Then the Western powers imposed a bunch of unequal treaties, meaning Japan's economy was bust. They also had no natural resources, so they decided to go get some. They went to war with China.
Yeah, Japan is basically had like nothing locally that could really bring them money on the world stage. So, they felt their only recourse was to invade other countries and take resources, which isn't the best idea, obviously. Like, clearly, they went about things in a fucked up way that they most certainly shouldn't have. Obviously.
China to gain a sphere of influence over Korea, and they took a bunch of China's stuff. But then the West said, hey, cut that out. And since Japan couldn't take on the West, they said, okay, I guess we'll just go home. Wait a minute, what are you doing? Taking advantage of a weakened China and setting up spheres of influence. But I was the one who weakened them. We know. And you guys didn't let me have anything.
Pretty much how it went.
We know. That seems unfair. We don't think so. Okay, see ya. So Japan thought, screw this, and went to war with Russia, and stunned everyone by actually winning. Then they annexed Korea, but they didn't stop there. In World War I, they took Germany's colonies and islands in Asia. And then in an incident that was maybe staged by the Japanese army, a bomb blew up a Japanese train in Manchuria, giving them an excuse to launch an invasion and take over. So here's the situation. Nazi Germany, Fascist Italy, and Japan superior, all feel hostility towards the Allies and all want to militarize and take over more stuff. And so they did. Let's start with Germany. Hitler hated the Treaty of Versailles, and now
as most Germans probably did.
In complete violation of the treaty, the first Luftwaffe squadrons were set up, conscription was introduced, and he pimped up his army. The Allies did nothing. Then
they did absolutely nothing to stop the blatant disregarding of the Treaty of Versailles.
He could now move on to step 2.
Also cracking open a can.
He wanted to rapidly increase the Aryan population, and to do so, he needed Lebensraum. Or in other words, he would have to take over the world. But for now, a good portion of Europe would do, and he began eyeing up his neighbors. The Allies finally started to get worried, so they implemented a fairly useless diplomatic strategy called appeasement, and it went a little something like this.
Appeasement of Germany during this whole time is easily perfect example of the catastrophic failures of the passive the passiveness of Europe at the time, where they just see this guy is actively trying to take things over, and they think that he'll stop at places that are considered ethnically German, not really understanding the fact that he had no plans to stop. He thought he could retaliate against the whole world for the Treaty of Versailles. He had no plans of stopping at like ethnically German territory. He was going to go for the whole, like, he was going to go for the fucking field goal there. He was going all the way.
Hitler would say, I want that thing. And the Allies would say, you can't have that thing. Okay, you can have that thing, but no more. I want that thing. And repeat. In
Yeah,
1938,
pretty much.
Hitler's army marched into Austria and just took it, with no resistance. Boom, this is Germany now. Next, he demanded to be given the Sudetenland, an area of Czechoslovakia with many ethnic Germans. The Allies held a meeting with Hitler in Munich and said, look, we're going to give you what... Hang on. This meeting is about my territory. Shouldn't I come to the meeting too? Anyway, we're going to give you what you want. Really?
Yeah, things just haven't changed since, you know, with the US meeting with Russia about the fate of Ukraine while purposely leaving Ukraine out of the talks. You know, things just haven't changed a bit in the slightest.
Really? Yeah. Just like that? Yep. What's the catch? Just sign this piece of paper promising you won't invade the rest of Czechoslovakia. Okay. Then Chamberlain returned home victorious, waving his signed piece of paper in the air, declaring crisis to be averted and the continuation of world peace, and we built a statue of Chamberlain in his honor, and every day on the 30th of September we celebrate Chamberlain Day. Hitler's invading the rest of Czechoslovakia.
Yeah.
What? He's invading the rest of Czechoslovakia.
Chamberlain was a tool.
You lied to me. What do you expect? I'm Hitler. Not to be outdone, Mussolini also wanted to get in on the action. He thought to himself, isn't there a not yet colonized nation somewhere which is so underdeveloped that the people would be defending themselves against our tanks with literal bows and arrows and wooden spears?
Yep.
Oh, there is? Fantastic. And so he took it. Italy also wanted to control the entrance to the Adriatic Sea, so they occupied Albania. Then, in another incident which was maybe staged by the Japanese, gunfire was exchanged by Japanese and Chinese troops at the Marco Polo Bridge, and the Japanese launched yet another invasion against China. They swept through Beijing and Shanghai, and then advanced through the Yangtze Valley to China's then capital, Nanking. It was here that saw the worst of Japan's shocking atrocities committed against the Chinese people.
Yeah, the shit that went down in Nanking is probably some of the most, like, fucked up shit to ever happen during World War II. Like, I'm talking, like, Japanese officers, like, having competitions on who could, like, behead the most Chinese prisoners with a katana blade. Like, that kind of fucked up shit that happened in Nanking. Like, there's a reason why they literally call the event the Rape of Nanking. It was probably one of, like, barring, like, the Holocaust itself, it was probably, like, one of the most fucked up parts of the entire war. At least, like, the preamble to the war, at least. Yeah, it was not good in the slightest. Like, very underselling it.
Back in Europe, Germany and Italy made their relationship status official by signing the Pact of Steel. Then, Hitler turned his eyes towards Poland and the hated Polish corridor, splitting Germany in two. At this point, the Allies really had to put their foot down, and they warned him that an invasion of Poland would mean war. Hitler had planned to continue his advance eastward, but he didn't want to end up fighting a war on two fronts. So for now, he made an alliance with Stalin, saying, how about we both invade Poland and split it between the two of us, and I definitely won't not refrain from not betraying you sometime in the future.
Oh yeah, that's really ironclad. Like, I remember in high school, there was someone who, like, had the gall to try and, like, mind you, this person was a massive weeaboo and, like, the only person in my high school's entire Japanese language class. Just to kind of preface the kind of person this is. I don't know what she's up to now. I haven't spoken to her in over 10 years. Who knows? But she deadass tried to defend the actions of Japan during World War II as like purely retaliatory against aggressors. She went as far as to like try to defend the Japanese bombing of Pearl Harbor because it was retaliation for the United States cutting off oil supplies to the Japanese. Like, how much of a weeaboo do you have to be to go from just being really into go from being really into Japanese culture to defending Japanese war crimes? Like, dog. Bruh. Yeah, it's fucked up, dog. Like, there was some real, like, weird people I went to high school with. It's so funny that, like, the brony contingent in my high school wasn't the weirdest group in my high school. Yeah, it was fucked up.
Sounds good. This new alliance stunned the West. On the 1st of September 1939, German troops entered Poland, and Britain and France declared war on Germany.
Yep.
The Poles fought hard, but they were no match for the two giants crashing down on them from either side. Then came a period known as the Phony War, where everyone just sort of sat around not doing much. The French
pretty
had
much
launched a small invasion into the Saarland, but they
Yeah, pretty much everybody had sat on their hands. It is kind of funny and ironic that Hitler would form a partnership with Joseph Stalin, considering that, like, his ultimate goal in starting World War II to begin with was the destruction of the Soviet Union and the elimination of communism in general. So it is weird that he would form any kind of partnership or alliance with Russia in general, considering the fact that, like, his end goal was the elimination of, like, communist Russia.
Maintained mostly defensive positions, and after a while decided to just turn around and call it a day. Speaking of France, the French were still super proud of their victory in World War I, and they hadn't really moved on from it.
Cocky-ass French.
Horses. They dispatched messages by motorbike instead of using radio. Orders from the commander-in-chief were usually pretty vague, and the troops were rarely inspected. They built a line of defenses along their German border, but didn't bother extending it all the way to the Channel, and they wouldn't launch artillery strikes against Germany out of fear of being retaliated against. In a war, they didn't want to attack the enemy. And at first the UK wasn't much better. Chamberlain still naively hoped that the war could be ended diplomatically. Instead of bombing raids, the RAF dropped propaganda leaflets over German cities, which one air marshal said likely did nothing but provide the continent with toilet paper for the duration of the war.
Chamberlain continuing to prove why he was so bad during this period. Also the French. I mean, at least the French eventually, like, they ditched their gaudy blue uniforms, but they were so proud of being on the winner's side of World War I that they got messed up in World War II because they were so overconfident. Like, the fact that France got so easily conquered by Germany is purely down to their own, like, massive hubris and how, like, they thought that, like, they were the big cock with like how they were in World War I. When in reality, France was just kind of barely hanging on. Like, France and UK were barely hanging on in World War I because of the fact that, like, at that point, they lost Russia. Italy was barely, like, playing a role on their side. Because, like, during World War I was the Russian Revolution, and so they lost Russia and its support. And it was basically like the United States coming in and using its military strength in the military-industrial complex of the United States to basically win the war after the hilarious mistake of Germany trying to incite Mexico into attacking the United States in order to distract them, only to get intercepted. And then the United States is like, what the fuck? And then they declared war on Germany. And that was probably what certainly sealed the fate of Germany in World War I.
They also only sent 200,000 men to France, while the French had mobilized millions. Both Britain and France wanted to avoid a repeat of the First World War, and so they wanted to keep the war as far from home as possible. So they turned their eyes north, towards Norway. Neutral Sweden was exporting iron ore to Germany through neutral Norway, so the Allies asked them if they could please stop exporting iron ore to Germany, but this request was refused. Then, the Soviet Union attacked Finland, so the Allies said, How about we land troops in Norway and move them across Sweden to go help out your good pal Finland, and along the way maybe take control of all your airfields. But Norway and Sweden still said no. So the UK mined the waters around Norway to force any transport ships into international waters, and they also attacked a German tanker they found in the area. Hitler realized what the Allies were up to, and he quickly moved to secure his supply of iron ore. He launched an invasion through Denmark into Norway. The Allies rushed to land troops at key ports along the coast, but Germany had taken control of Norway's airfield, and their air superiority decided the fight.
Yeah, the Allies basically spent way too much time, they spent way too much time trying to be the good guys and being like, oh, we can do this, that, and the other to defend you. It's like if you know that they are, if you know that they're exporting, resources to that country, either enact an embargo or just go in and take it. It's that simple. If you don't want Germany to have that iron ore, then go in and just take it. I mean, I know it'll alienate you in the future, but goddamn, dude.
The Allies had to retreat. After this slightly embarrassing failure, Chamberlain resigned and was replaced with Winston Churchill, who had a slightly different approach to dealing with the Germans. Hitler's overall strategy was similar to Germany's First World War strategy. Attack France, defeat France, knocking out the UK in the process, then turn on the Soviet Union and win the war. During the Free War, the Allies had given Hitler time to prepare his forces. Now, he was ready to attack. The Allies had wanted to place troops in Belgium, but Belgium had refused, and in a move that surprised pretty much no one, Hitler launched an invasion to get around France's defenses. The Allies charged into Belgium at full speed to meet the German invasion head-on, and it looked like a repeat of the First World War was coming. But this time, Hitler had a trick up his sleeve. Blitzkrieg. As the Germans advanced, they sent thousands of refugees westward, slowing down the Allies. Then, to the south, the French had left the Ardennes, an area full of hills and forests, pretty underdefended because they thought it was naturally impenetrable. Well, the Germans were about to penetrate it with everything they had. They smashed 50 Wehrmacht divisions through and encircled the Allied armies at lightning speed. The best of the Allied forces were now trapped. The Germans squeezed in from all sides, taking out France's best armies and nearly wiping out the British too. But they managed to make a desperate last-minute escape at Dunkirk, with British civilian ships even making the perilous journey to bring their young men home.
Yep. The French being overconfident as hell, and the UK not contributing enough to what would essentially be the main line and one of the most influential battles. You know, considering the fact that Dunkirk literally got its own movie adaptation. The fact that they basically just let Germany build up its forces and then invade and sweep on through. Flabbergasted the level of incompetence in military operations against Germany.
With most of the French forces depleted, the Germans breezed through, taking Paris, and France fell. What the Germans couldn't do in World War I, Hitler had done just like that.
Yep.
Hitler hoped that with the fall of France, the UK would also lose hope and sue for peace. But quite annoyingly, it didn't, and he needed to secure the Western Front, so he tried to force them into submission with mind games. The UK were now all alone, and Hitler wanted to emphasize that. First of all, just before France fell, Italy finally declared war on the Allies, making the UK's situation even worse. Next, instead of just occupying all of France, Hitler occupied the coastal areas for defense, but allowed France to continue its existence as a German puppet state. Yep. This way, it looked like the UK's old ally had decided to switch sides.
Yep, pretty much. Germany basically occupied a good majority of France, but then installed a puppet government of Vichy France, basically as a sort of tactical mind game. Be like, yeah, you know the French government? Well, this is them. I mean, they have our guy now in charge, but this is still them, and now they're on our side, and they're against you now. Which is also funny and continuing a trend that every single time, literally every single time the French lose a war, they overthrow their government and replace it with a new one. Without fail.
Hitler also hoped that the UK wouldn't attack any of her old allies' navy bases or colonies in Africa, giving Hitler an extra line of defense to the south. But the UK made sure to respond to this by sailing down to France's navy base in Algeria and wrecking a bunch of ships. So have at it. Hitler then began laying down plans for an invasion of Great Britain. Before German troops could land on British soil, he would first need air and naval superiority across the Channel. Waves of German bombers came, while the completely outnumbered RAF worked bravely around the clock in an attempt to quell the German attacks. At first, the Luftwaffe targeted British ports and coastal facilities. Then it attacked RAF bases, crippling the RAF's ability to defend the nation. And it looked like Hitler's Great British invasion was coming.
And then he got cocky. He got jebaited. At least that's what I think they're moving. I know what, like, because I know, like, the bombings of London, like, he shifts focus to, like, civilian infrastructure. And that kind of, like, bites him in the ass.
But then, Churchill ordered a small, pretty insignificant bombing raid over Berlin.
Oh yeah, the bombing of Berlin.
Hitler was furious, and he immediately ordered the Luftwaffe to refocus its attacks on civilian
bombing
targets
of London.
Children were sent off to the countryside, away from their parents to avoid danger, and frequent trips to air raid shelters became a daily occurrence. But British morale
the bombings of London.
Smiling, knitting, lounging casually, these people have balls of steel. This refocusing on London also gave the RAF breathing space to reorganize. So
if you ever wonder what those posters that have just become memes, the keep calm and carry on, like, posters come from, they were literally, like, keep calm and carry on was literally, like, the motto of the average London citizen during World War II. Just, like, keep calm and carry on living your life while, like, Germany bombs us. Like, show them we don't give a shit. Like, show them that we are tougher than they are. That's literally what keep calm and carry on was about. Was the average day Londoner casually carrying on with their day as they were being bombed by Nazi Germany. Yeah.
Hitler kind of shot himself in the foot there. Just the foot for now.
Just the foot. Just the foot for now.
All-out attack on London, and the RAF successfully repelled it, destroying many of the German aircraft and placing air superiority firmly in British hands. Hitler's invasion had to be postponed, but the bombing of British cities continued for some time.
Yep. That was part 1 of Oversimplified's video on World War II. Next time we'll be getting into World War II, part 2. So far, we've seen just how much superiority, as far as its military goes, that Germany had over its adversaries. Mostly just down to pure old good-fashioned incompetence on the part of the UK and France. Let's see how that's going to happen on the next time, when we know another big, strong country is going to be getting involved in the war. So let me know what you think down in the comments below so far. Hit like on the video, subscribe to the channel, ding that bell, and I will see you next time at the HQ. Bye-bye.